One hard-boiled egg.
Yes, before you say it, I know, I am extremely late to making fun of this movie. War of the Worlds was a hot commodity 2.5 weeks ago, and now it's pretty much dead. But let me explain. When this movie initially gained traction, I had assumed that it would be nothing but an hour and a half of boring nonsense with a few funny moments spliced in between. There have been plenty of movies which have blown up for being terrible, and then you watch them and you have a terrible experience and nothing to say. I didn't know that this would be a true content farm until it became one, with countless videos coming out recently covering it. Even then, though, my thought was, well, I've got other stuff to make videos on, which was true until it wasn't. I was going to make a video on Exit 8, the movie, but while trying to acquire it in the most legal of ways, I found that English subtitles just don't exist for that movie. And with that idea down the drain for the time being, I decided War of the Worlds was the perfect thing to cheer me up. I watched it last night and then immediately got sick this morning, but god damn it, I will make this video. So, War of the Worlds is an adaptation of a Steven Spielberg movie and partially an H.G. Wells novel, but don't let that fool you because this movie is actually about Ice Cube shilling Amazon. Will Radford is a man with probably the most boring job in the world, which is surveying threats to the government, of which there are very few while completely alone in an office building. Great guy to make a movie about. I think one of the biggest issues in the movie is Will himself, or really just the fact that he is who we're watching. The movie was filmed in COVID, so I expect some limitations, but this is just one guy on his computer. It's no more interesting than me on a Sunday afternoon. And not only that, he also happens to be a complete asshole. Will spies on his kids constantly, which the movie has an explanation for, but he's also a douchebag in other ways which never really get developed. In the first 10 minutes, we can see that Will has denied his pregnant daughter, who he has labeled as threat level unclear, a ride to the hospital, and manually deletes a game from his adult son's computer. He also hangs up on people constantly, which happens so much that it feels like a recurring gag at a certain point, but to be fair, he's got a lot to do. Something really funny about Will being the main character is that there's a clear better choice for a main character in Sandra Nassa, Will's friend who is constantly calling him. She is not only the first person to discover and reveal the incoming apocalypse, which really has no build and it just goes straight to fucking catastrophic natural disasters, but she also consistently interacts with the aliens and debris on site while Will films a Sniper Wolf video. Maybe if Will's family's plotline was at all compelling, it would make sense for him to be the center of attention, but this movie is about the end of the world, so it's pretty hard to focus on. Okay, but so far this movie doesn't sound like anything special, but it gets really good when we look at the production. This is the only movie I've seen in this format which has cuts in such plain sight. Not only that, but shots repeat constantly, and they sometimes don't even try to hide that either. At one point, if you look closely at Will's fucking face cam in the top right of the screen, you can see him lean back and tilt his head the same way 5 times in a row. This is the type of shit that makes it seem like this movie wasn't even finished. This movie is also edited like a YouTube video, so you get quick zooms and pans across the screen that look like Mr. Beast intros at the same time as aliens are shooting laser beams at people, which looks great, by the way. One of the biggest goofs, however, is the time on Will's computer, which fluctuates from being 9 in the morning, to being noon later on, to then somehow being 10 in the morning by the end of the movie, and yet multiple shots that we see are somehow in the middle of the night, even if they're like 5 miles down the road. It gets even better when Will starts watching the news, and you get both clear stock footage, which in-universe could not have been filmed by any cameraman, and some of the most ridiculous headlines possible, such as passenger jets falling to their deaths. I also find it funny that people are being told to stay inside during this entire movie, considering how destructive the aliens really are. It's very clear that staying inside would not help at all. These things shoot laser beams that rip through skyscrapers, and yet as soon as someone walks inside their house, they're just fine. Finally, small nitpick here, but I think it's hilarious that at one point, Will turns on auto-generated English subtitles to a foreign YouTube video and they are somehow accurate? When's the last time auto-generated subtitles have been correct for you? But truly, the most noticeable sin of the movie is the goddamn script.
Well, I got bigger fish to fry than watching clouds.
One of the first things I noticed while watching this movie is the dichotomy between Ice Cube's character and basically everyone else. His kids especially will have the most scripted sounding lines even when they're in mortal danger, pouring out their hearts and saying shit like, "Dad, the thing you don't understand is that you're always trying to save the world when first you need to save yourself." And then he'll just go, "Gotti." I'm 90% sure that while everyone else got a hard and fast script, Ice Cube was just given a few basic plot points and told to improvise. He also is wearing the funniest outfit I've ever seen in a movie, but let's move on. On top of that, this movie is also unbelievably eventful, something I really wasn't expecting for a movie like this. By the 30-minute point of the movie, we have had 4 fake-out deaths, 2 of which were Faith, Will's daughter. One was his son, who's definitely not the disruptor, Will's lifelong enemy, and one was Sandra Nassa. We've also had a real death with Sheila, the dumbass FBI agent, and more fake-outs would come later. When we're getting towards the end, it seems like we've developed into our final act with Will teaming up with his son, the disruptor, and his hacker team who are plotting to take down the man behind the attacks, Department Chief Briggs, played by Clark Gregg, who doesn't even seem to really know he's in this movie. It just looks like he put up an American flag in his house and is filming from there. This is only for all of those hacker characters to die instantly, and our savior to become Faith's Amazon delivery guy husband, Roderick Heffley, who pilots a drone to deliver a thumb drive to Ice Cube, which he says is, quote, "the future of delivery." This movie, by the way, was created without Amazon's guidance. War of the Worlds is a beautiful movie. In times like this, we need more like War of the Worlds. Sometimes a movie is so god-awful and insane that it brings a community together, and that's what we've witnessed here. Our world is going to shit in real life in a much less fun way than in this movie, so a good distraction is always welcome. Though I do think that Amazon's decision to make the villain of the movie a rich, bald guy was possibly misguided. I'm going to give War of the Worlds a 1 out of 10, though I will put a little 0 in parentheses next to the 1 because that's what it deserves. The only thing I find truly offensive about this movie is the fact that Ice Cube, of all people, agreed to be in it playing a government grunt who is in meetings with the completely unnamed president. Whatever happened to never having dinner with the president, Cube? And why is it that the only 2 movies I've ever seen you in are Boys in the Hood and this? That's pretty funny. Anyways, bye now.